tips and tricks you all have learned along the way about paying for college? What was the most creative and legal thing that you ever did to pay for school?
Get a job. No, my internship now is paying for my senior year. I know UMass has a really good job recruiting site, and a lot of them do detail, payments, what full-time enrollment will be paying back towards school. And I know that a lot of students who haven't been able to afford school the next year, especially my friend, he's trying to pick up one of these jobs because that will actually pay for his upcoming year.
Yeah, I just applied for a lot of scholarships and grants. I mean, that's what I did. I just applied for everything I could. Got some kind of amount back. So I mean,
when you say applied, from the school, outside, inside, all kinds of everything.
From the school, my school gives a couple of returning student grants and stuff like that. But no, there are a couple in-school grants that you can apply for, and then community scholarships or corporate scholarships that I could apply for.
Yeah, it's a good hobby for a financial aid student to have, is basically look into scholarships. I mean, I had students over the years at Princeton. Some of them actually just took it on as like an extra thing. It's just going to try and find scholarships. And you've got to go in contests, you've got to look outside, you've got to search, you've got to go in your department and look at the bulletin board, by the way, there's this for whatever. And it's interesting, the students who do that can usually find, sometimes a couple $1,000s just by doing that. Yeah. The other thing to mention, we've talked a lot about scholarships and grants, and we've talked a lot about loans. I think one of the most overlooked things at all is work. I think kids tend to exclude work as a way to really help them pay for anywhere from $2,000 to $7,000 or $8,000 worth of their education. You can work. Do you have a work-study job as part of your package? You guys are there, most of you have work-study? And what kind of hours a week do you typically put in? Is it 10, 15? Do you know what you put in?
4 hours a week.
4 hours a week?
Yeah, admissions.
And how about yours?
I didn't start yet, so I don't know.
You didn't?
But
okay.
I know they said roughly.
Usually it's probably 10 or 12 is kind of typical. And you do 4, you said? There's no reason you probably can't work between 12 and 15 and still keep your grades up. In fact, their statistics show a student who works actually does better academically because they organize their time.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. And the summer work and vacation work and co-op education and internships. I think a lot of money could come through employment that's often overlooked. It looks small when you're working, but over time it adds up.
I transferred to Emerson, and the rule with my parents was that you have to work this summer and you have to be able to come up with like a lump sum of money to give us. Otherwise you will not be able to go to school. And so that's what I do every summer.
Did that work? Did you make some money?
Oh yeah, I had to do it, so I did it. But yeah, I guess it's kind of nice having to pay that. Well, now, looking back on it, I just would have spent all that money on like food. So now that it went towards something that I would have to pay off later, I'm guessing that all my money's gone.
Well, I think that's good.
Well, I mean, I'm on work study, but I also have to carry 2 outside jobs just because I live in an apartment in the city. So I mean, that was a big factor for me. What's going to have to happen there.
As far as the creative tips, I still keep contact with my high school guidance counselor. She emails me scholarship opportunities like monthly. I recently got a scholarship for Southwest Airlines, which is important to me because I fly in and out of state for school, so that was important. That cut the cost of flying because it was pretty expensive. I ended up driving home on my first break, Thanksgiving break of my freshman year, because I didn't think I could fly home and I was so scared and I really wanted to come home. So from Ohio to Massachusetts, that was pretty far. So getting that airline scholarship was important.
What about the concern that outside scholarships can reduce your financial aid package?
Yeah, they can. Once again, have a conversation, find out what's going on. If you get what's called full need, in other words, if you need $10,000 and they give you all that, and then you bring in, let's say, a $1,000 outside scholarship, it's got to go somewhere in there. Now, a good, generous financial aid office will either maybe reduce your work-study job or maybe reduce your loan. There are some places, though, short of money, will take it from your scholarship or your grant. So you really want to find out, particularly if you're going to go out and get a number of these things, exactly when you bring them to the office, how will they treat them. In most cases, they're glad to see outside money and they're willing to reward you for your initiative, but it's worthwhile to check into that. Particularly if you really work hard and get a lot of them, you want to benefit from them if you do.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that because I got a scholarship from my town garden club, and MIT says you have to fill out a form with any outside scholarships and then send it in, and they made sure to note on the aid package, like, this is tentative pending receipt of outside scholarships. So I'm a little concerned about that.
Do you have, your MIT award is need-based, and do you have a loan and a job in your package?
We're not taking a loan, but they offered it. It was unsubsidized. So.
Unsubsidized, yeah. Okay, well, that'd be important. I don't know how MIT would do it, but do you have a work-study job?
I do, yeah.
They might reduce the work-study job, but we'll see what happens. But that's a good example of how they treat that. At Princeton, we would have basically done away with the loan, done away with the job, and then even then we would try and reward students by allowing them to buy a computer, for example, with it or whatever. But not all colleges are kind of that generous, I'll say.
I wish that was mine.
Huh?
That's pretty generous.
Yeah, yeah.
So was the advice to find out your college's financial aid policy in terms of how they treat outside scholarships before you go to the trouble of...
Yeah, sometimes you come with them already, and whatever you have, you're subject to their policy. But certainly if you're going to go the extra effort, you definitely want to find out how they'll treat them once you bring them in.